Spotlight is a production of CTNY, the Catholic Television Network of Youngstown. It seeks to spotlight people, places, and events from around the Diocese of Youngstown that promote the new gospel of joy called for by Pope Francis. Your program host is Father James Korda.
Hello and welcome to Spotlight. I'm Father Jim Korda. During this series, we are celebrating the 75th anniversary of the Diocese of Youngstown. And we welcome back Sister Jerome Corcoran to our show. Welcome back, Sister.
Thank you.
We love the memories that you have, and we thank you for sharing those with us. I think one of the areas that I'd like you to share with us, if you could, is the educational system of the Diocese of Youngstown, which I think is extremely rich and diverse and wonderful. You had an early part in that. Talk a little bit about your beginnings with education and what bishops were influential in really bringing our Catholic school system alive.
Now, I was director of education for the diocese for 15 years. And I think it was 53 to 68. And so you can keep that time frame in mind, sure. 53 to 68. Okay. Now, at that time, there was a great deal of hubbub in the elementary schools throughout the country about how reading should be taught. Now, maybe it sounds silly starting with reading, but it isn't. Now, the Catholic schools were known to be conservative and stable, and way back, the Catholic schools were known to teach. And one of the things that I remember, even when I was in school at St. Columba, how serious teaching was, and how serious the day was, and the week, and the 6-week report cards and so forth. And I remember it was serious business, but good teachers and a lot of fun. Now, to the diocese itself, the diocese was formed in 1943, and I came in 10 years later. Now, during those 10 years, it's a deep, dark secret, or it was, that Mother Edna Marie Brindle, who was elected our superior in 1960. And then I was fortunate at that time to be elected to the Administrative Council. So we worked closely, Mother Edna Marie and I, for 12 years. But in 53, I could see all that Mother Edna Marie had done without being on the staff of the diocese, with standardizing things for us. Now, I remember as a child at St. Columba, when we were part of the Cleveland Diocese, you took a test from Cleveland and you mailed it back to Cleveland. Now, these were our own. So Mother Edna Marie was helping the diocese to get started with tests of our own, if they were better, not if they weren't. And also, what kind of report cards did we want to send to parents and the public? And especially what kind of textbooks were meaningful and historically accurate. So Mother Edna Marie was doing that work for about 10 years. And so it wasn't that the diocese had been suffering from a lack of an education person. She did that and had our sisters do various things. So when I came in 1953, Bishop Malone was superintendent, but not yet bishop. This was 53. He came a bishop in 1960, the same year that Mother Edna Marie was elected, but before that she had help. And so when I came in 53, Bishop Malone had the advantage of the help that Mother Edna Marie and other Ursuline sisters had been. And so what what we were doing together at the time, Bishop Malone and I, was examining things such as numbers in the schools, because in '53, the steady increase in Catholic education enrollment was well beginning, and it peaked in the early 60s. So we were studying enrollments and what advice we had concerning adding a grade or adding a building or whatever, all those things. And then another thing that Bishop Malone engineered was with the Diocese of Cleveland, it was so big that there wasn't much communication among the people in our area. We were part of a great big lake. Right. And so then the communication became very important, and also the financing of every school. And I was not connected with the financing of the parish, but that affected the enrollment in the schools. So when I came in '53, the enrollments were growing, and noticeably, because they were affecting busing, for example, and all those things. And so we got busy and re-standardized our report cards and our communication with parents, our handbook, and one of the things we were always so careful about was audits. It was like you said your prayers and you also had your audit. They were both very essential. So finances became very important. So from '53 to '68, you had the increase in school enrollments everywhere, not just in the Catholic schools. And then you have the building of a new or a Mooney, and then you expansion in another direction. And so you have all of that expansion, and there were times that Catholic kids couldn't get into Catholic high schools. It was heartbreaking. They just, but then we have the settling off of enrollment. At that time also, the Catholic schools were known for their excellence and stability, and a little bit resented, and but they all through those years, that reputation, and I'm very critical of reputations in education. They must be based on the answer to the question, what are the children learning? How much are they learning of the basic studies? Nothing else matters unless those are positive. And with our own testing system then, we became more familiar with all that data.
We're going to talk more about that in a moment, Sister, but we're going to take a quick break. Stay with us. We'll be right back. After the Catholics of Warren stopped meeting in their homes and organized a structured parish, they used a former Episcopalian church for their worship. St. Mary's Mission was established in 1837, yet the first resident pastor did not come to the parish until 1868. Other parishes quickly grew up in Trumbull County, including St. Stephen Niles in 1853, St. Patrick Hubbard in 1869, St. Vincent de Paul Vienna in 1871, now called St. Thomas the Apostle, and St. Rose Gerard in 1892. The other 15 parishes in the county were established after the turn of the 20th century. Congratulations, Catholic Diocese, for celebrating 75 years with pride in the past and faith in the future. In 1850, a Catholic mission was established in Conneaut, making it the first organized Catholic presence in Ashtabula County. It wouldn't be until 1864 that an actual building was purchased to serve St. Mary Church. 8 years before the construction of St. Mary's Parish Church, St. Joseph Church in the city of Ashtabula was established. Parishes in Conneaut have aligned under the title of Corpus Christi Parish, and in the city of Ashtabula as Our Lady of Peace Parish. There are 11 other parishes in that county that serve over 20,000 Catholics. Congratulations, Catholic Diocese, for celebrating 75 years with pride in the past and faith in the future. Welcome back to Spotlight. I'm talking with Sister Jerome Corcoran. Sister, I know that for many years you have been involved in education. One hallmark of your long life as a sister and educator and lover of children has been creating the Mill Creek Center. Tell us about that, how that got started, what drove you to being part of something like that?
Well, I began Mill Creek Children's Center in 1976. Now, in my previous experience, up to 76, I had taught elementary school, high school. I had gone to Case Western Reserve University. And at that time, amazingly, they were into literacy. 1950, I got my degree. They were into literacy. And they had a teacher there, Mary Austin, who was filled with it and communicated it. And she was one of the people who changed my life. So that I liked to study always, but literacy and the importance of reading. If you can't read, you're nobody. That I got from Case Western Reserve. And when, then I did it in schools and so forth. But in 1976, I had finished my term on the Administrative Council. That was 12 years. And Mother Edna Marie had finished her 12 years. And I did a couple I taught at the university for a while. And I saw that there were so many little children in Youngstown, and they weren't very well dressed, and they didn't seem to be focusing much. And so there was the city of Youngstown had a preschool in a new building they had built with government funds on Glenwood Avenue. So I decided to work there and just see what it was like. So I worked in that preschool as a supervisor for a couple of years, and I really learned a lot about the parents' educational status. So many of them have dropped out of high school, and they wanted so much that their kids would read, that they would learn, that they would keep their head on straight. And so the city had a bad experience with that preschool that they had. And so they asked me to take it over, and I said, oh, no, thank you. No. But anyway, I said no for a while. And then after about 6 months, I said, it wouldn't hurt you to take it over for a few months. It wouldn't hurt you. So I took it over in 1976. And then what happened was the Italians had built a beautiful like a service center for the Italians, where they dance and meet and eat and socialize. And so Mayor Flask was the mayor, so he had taken that over, and that was fine. So the city assigned me that little place, about 1,000 square feet. And so then I began to learn what makes things go and what makes things not go. So that was 76, and I was there 36 years. And my conviction was from Western Reserve, Case Western Reserve, literacy is so important. If you don't do that, you don't do anything for children. So I just I wasn't mad about anything, but I just decided these little kids are as bright as any little kids. They're going to learn. So at that time, the state was giving a readiness test to all the children that were going to go into the schools in September. And so our little kids gradually were learning. Like they had, as soon as I opened the school, we got a dentist to volunteer to help their dental health. We got a health coordinator. The kids didn't have health insurance in those days way back. We got a speech teacher, and we got a tutor for little kids. They weren't as good as somebody else in doing the puzzles. So we had all those things, and we got dance lessons for them and singing lessons for them. And so year by year, we were getting these little children up, and they loved it. They really loved it. They loved to learn. So they were getting better and better. And when the results started to be published, maybe 5 years later or so, our little kids from the inner city were scoring 1 point below the suburbs. 1 point below the suburbs. And they thought it was fun, which was great. So that we kept that up too. They kept that reputation with the dance and the singing and everything they needed to fulfill themselves. And so then in 1998, the legislature of Ohio passed a law that Ohio could have charter schools. And all along the mothers were saying, grandmothers, I have kids in school and they can't read. They're in 4th grade, they're not reading. If you would just have a kindergarten, they could start reading and then they'd be all right. But I didn't have money and they didn't have money for tuition. But when I heard we could have charter schools, Sister Mary Dunn and I, she was principal of St. Patrick's, and she was a great reading person too. And so we said, what do you say, let's have a charter school. She said, sure. So Mary Dunn then, with Eleanor Tessner, another great person, they did all the preliminary work to start a charter school. And when I look back, I thought, what on earth was wrong with your head? What were you thinking of? But anyway, I was thinking of the kids. They would learn to read. Okay. So in 1 year, we got our application in and we got approval to start building. And now, during that time then, we built Mill Creek on Market Street. That was $1.3 million, and that was donations from around people. And then with the charter school, that would be $7.3 million. But we had some wonderful donors, especially one, and she's still helping all kinds of charities, Denise DeBartolo.
Sure.
All kinds of charities. So she was very helpful. So we started a charter school, paid that off. And in that charter school then, they were known that they could read. Reading was important.
That's wonderful, Sister. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to conclude in just a moment. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Well, I've been volunteering for 18, almost 20 years. What I do is help the elderly in their homes so that they can stay in their homes.
I think a lot of times the elderly in our society are forgotten, and that's unfortunate because they have so much wisdom to share.
The other day she told me that every night when she goes to bed, she thinks about her little angel, when her little angel's gonna come and check on her the next day. And that's me, yeah.
33 million Americans have descended into poverty. And as their futures fall, so does our nation's.
Welcome back to our show. I'm talking with Sister Jerome Corcoran, and we're celebrating the 75th anniversary of the Diocese of Youngstown. Sister, in your many years as a religious woman, you have come in contact with lots of people over the years. Are there any particular people priests, religious, that you found significant and inspirational in your life that you'd like to share with us?
Yes, there were a good many. I've been here a while, you know. You meet people if you're here a while.
Sure.
But there were a great many. And with regard to the priests, when I was a child growing up and attending St. Columba's School, and the church was the church then and not yet the cathedral, Monsignor Traynor, and before him, Father Mears, were civic powers. Monsignor Traynor was into civic things as well as doing a beautiful church and a beautiful rectory and I think 4 assistant priests and a school that was to be proud of. But Monsignor Traynor was influential in civic matters. Now, a little bit later than that, Monsignor Nash at St. Edward's. He probably had the richest parish in our area, and he was very good about having fundraisers for the poor and interested his wealthy people in doing that. He had the whole range of income people too, but he had a great school and also a junior high. And he was known to be influential. He was very good to the Italian sisters, the Oblates, when they came, and very interested in helping them get started. Then we have on the south side, Monsignor High, but before him, Father Casey. He was director of education, for instance, and well known and highly thought of. I never knew him, but Monsignor Heinrich carried on his traditions of a solid parish, active ministries, doing something, and Monsignor Stepanovich over at St. Peter and Paul's was another power when I was down there. He was very close to his people and to his staff in the school, and very informed of everybody's condition and needs, and he was able to get his people to contribute valiantly, like maybe a little more than they could afford. But it's a tribute to him that that church still has some finances to keep it going. That's Monsignor Stepanovich. And so we have any number, and of course in Canton there were some too that were outstanding. But we can be proud of the priests and the image they've projected.
Now, Sister, can you tell us how long you've been an Ursuline sister?
I think it's 82 years.
Beautiful.
Let's see, 1935 to 2018.
Beautiful,
83
sister.
years.
Now, in those many years, in our few minutes of our time together, how have you seen the Ursulines live up to their charism for the glory of God alone?
It's kind of hard to put your fingers on exactly this, but it seems to me that, and that was for the Gloria, Soli Deo Gloria, that motto has been really ingrained in all of us, and through the many years when we were just teachers, it showed in the work we did in school, and those who teach others unto or shine like stars for all eternity. Those quotations were big in our lives. And so when we were only teachers, it was easier, like, to point to objective growth or development. And now that we have many interests, and depending on the sisters' own abilities, or It's still hard to put your finger on it, but it seems to me it's the spirit. If it's good, I should do it, and God will be glorified and people will be helped. I think that's about the way it works out.
And what do you like best about being a sister?
What I like best about being a sister, let's do the selfish things first. Okay. I had wonderful opportunities. I couldn't have had a fuller education And then I've always been blessed in being with groups of our sisters. I never had to live alone, and I didn't go to the missions, but I've always lived with groups. And there's a lot that's unsaid in groups that solidify the groups and keep them together and keep them humming. I've had wonderful groups that have, and now that healthcare is so, we've had so many good benefactors, so many. I hate to say a name because then I'm leaving out some other name.
Sure.
But for the 83 years, I remember how we've had significant benefactors, and the doctors. There were years and years and years we didn't have any health care. There were doctors who provided care, and Jewish doctors. I should mention the Jewish people in my life. The Jewish people have been very supportive of my ministries, very supportive and very responsive with money and services. They've just been wonderful. And many Protestants, so that like what I was doing didn't look like a special Catholic thing. And they felt it was good to do. So healthcare, we're very blessed with that now, and marvelous benefactors. One of the things I like very much now is at the Ursuline Mother House where I lived for, in our chapel, we welcome families. And it's so nice. We might have 3 or 4 families with their children of a Sunday. That is wonderful. It's closer to what we're doing than just ourselves.
Sure. Well, Sister Jerome Corcoran, it was a pleasure to have you on our show. Thank you for enlightening us as we celebrate our 75th anniversary as a diocese, and God bless you.
Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you. And thank you for being with us. Have a good day, and God be with you.
Spotlight has been a production of CTNY, the Catholic Television Network of Youngstown. Your program host was Father James Korda.